Huntsville, Alabama. You know we've got space camp and rockets and government contractors, but did you know we have one kick-ass music scene that doesn't get near enough attention? Well, that's about to change. Welcome to Uprising, a podcast about the people that make Huntsville's music scene so cool. Hosted by me, Bill Fowler, Huntsville native and lifelong musician. So strap on that guitar, flip on that amp, and crank it all the way up. You've just joined the Uprising.
Yes, sir.
Man, thank you for being here.
Pleasure.
Well, I'm actually where you normally are.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, no problem. So we're here as Uprising podcast episode 9, maybe, I think. And I'm sorry it's taken me.
Yeah.
Sorry it's taken me 8, episodes to finally get to you. We've been talking about this for a long time.
Yeah.
Tim Miller, In Tune With TMill is your podcast, and right now, tell everybody who you are, so I don't have to.
All right. So my name is Tim Miller. Most know me by TMill, and I do a podcast here at the Midland Conservatory, and it's focused on changing the status quo. It's a place to think out loud, a place to explore solutions. We also highlight events or happenings around the Tennessee Valley, North Alabama, Southern Tennessee area.
Yeah.
And again, it's just a platform for people to talk about solutions, explore ideas, and a place to do that.
Well, we're going to do this a few more times while we're talking, but tell me how I can listen to you right now.
So it's wherever you spend the most time listening to music, your favorite music platform, your podcast platform. So wherever you waste the most time when you should be working, that's where I'm at. So if you search In Tune With TMill on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify. I know Apple is going through this thing where they're getting rid of iTunes, I think, and some other things, but we'll be there. So
your podcast would be anywhere where I normally get a podcast. I'll find you.
Absolutely.
In Tune With TMill. Great.
Absolutely.
And you can tell by just listening to Tim that he's a cool guy. And your format, I really love your format. Listening to your podcast. I'm a huge podcast guy, so listening to you and listening to something that's relevant to what's going on in Huntsville, I think is really cool. So sitting here at the Midland Conservatory, as we are, they have great furniture, by the way. I mean, looking around, really nice furniture. What is Midland Conservatory, and what is your position here? What's your role?
Yeah, so the Midland Conservatory was built and created by Mario Midland. And Mario started this place about 7-8 years ago. He's a musician, he's a writer, songwriter, producer. I mean, just all around phenomenal instrument player. The guy can pick up any instrument and play it. So this place, he created this place as, a place of education. Where do you go in North Alabama to study music? Where do you go to study modern arts?
Yeah.
Where do you go to study music engineering or photography or video? So instead of you trying to sell a kidney and come up with 30 grand to go to Full Sail or some of these other places, which is great, but we need some places in North Alabama and Southern Tennessee that children, teenagers, and adults can go to explore the traditional and non-traditional arts.
Right.
So what Mario created is one thing that he coined it as the gym for creatives.
Yeah.
A place to where art comes to fruition.
Yeah.
So he created this place as, again, education and a space to not only educate yourself, but to further your career.
And you record here. That's the tie-in here, is that you do your show.
Yeah, so my tie-in here is I found the Midland Conservatory through, we were doing a photography class called Training Tuesdays. Shout out to Jude Boy and everybody at Training Tuesdays. It was a photography class, and we were doing it here. And I wanted to interview Mario on my podcast because I was doing it from home before.
Yeah.
So after interviewing Mario, we talked about our ideas and what he was doing here. And I said, man, I would love to, this is the place where I need to do my podcast.
Yeah.
This is home base, where I need to do the podcast, especially right here in North Huntsville.
Right.
So we created, this partnership and working things out. And just by the grace of God, he allowed me this opportunity to be here and set up to do this podcast.
Yeah. So the reason why I wanted to talk to you, I mean, other than just being a cool guy and doing some really cool things in the community at large, the musical tie-in here with the Midland Conservatory, and just the fact that you are a huge music fan and a huge local music fan, that's kind of where we overlapped. And when I heard what your kind of mission was, you have a much broader, mission, kind of a social, maybe even / political kind of situation where you discuss a lot of big issues that are going on in Huntsville.
Yeah.
Music is a big part of what you do, and I wanted to, and one of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you is there are a lot of people that are doing similar work, and we all have an overlap.
Yeah.
And music is one of those areas that we overlap, and also a desire to see Huntsville in a more united way. I think in a way where we don't have these pockets, these communities that are independently doing things the way we've always done it. Music, and this is my overall thesis, is the thing where we overlap, and you see other communities around the country where you do have your pockets of activity and issues and things, but music and arts generally are the thing that bring us all together.
For sure.
My son and I passed by Big Spring Park on the way to be here with you, and there's probably 10,000 people in the park right now, all shades, shades and sizes, and they're there for one reason: that's concerts in the park. And they're there for music. So tell me a little bit about what your podcast is. You've given me kind of a big picture, a view of it, but give me where the kind of rubber meets the road with your content, like what you really get to, like how do you create a show, and what typically, if I were going to say the average show is about and contains what is that?
The average show, when you listen, it contains about 3 different elements. So there's a question, whether it be how do you copyright your music, or how do you make money in the streaming age when you're not selling CDs and physical merch, or how do you navigate the political landscape and try to not piss off people with your opposing opinions.
Right.
And so there's a question, and then we ask that question, and we ask it to someone that can provide answers. So as opposed to talking about all the problems with political, or all the problems with entertainment, or not making enough money, or not getting paid, let's talk about how you get paid.
So instead of let's have a bitch session for an hour, why don't we figure out a solution? And
let's
get
talk
to that.
about a solution, because we can go on Facebook and talk about it all day long, about you're not getting paid from venues, or you're not getting paid for streams, or whatever it is.
Well, that's a that's a conversation we all know real well.
For sure.
Everybody knows how not to make money. You know what I mean? Let's get to how to do that. And one of the first conversations you had, and when we did this thing with Downtown Huntsville just a few weeks ago about that video promoting all of our podcasts.
Shout out to Downtown Huntsville.
Absolutely. The work that they do to bring us all together. We'll deal with that in a minute. But that kind of the overarching theme that you brought then was, we have a lot of problems. We know what they are. We can talk about them all day long. We're used to talking about them. We're used to hearing about the things that we can't change. Why don't we talk to somebody who may be able to change them for us?
If we put as much energy and thought and talk into the solution, there wouldn't be a problem.
Tell me what you think, because you talk to a lot of people in music, and again, I'm gonna go ahead and announce, that my community is my community. I grew up in South-ish Huntsville, more central South Huntsville, South Central. I love it.
South Central.
Kind of a different picture than you get in LA. But I grew up in that environment, and so when I started doing this, I knew 20 people that I wanted to interview right out of the gate. And then when you sit back and look at them, they're all like old white dudes. Okay, so now again, I love talking to those guys, But when I talked to Victoria Jones, who was my second interview, I want the music scene in Huntsville, what I'm doing, to reflect in a very similar way to what you're doing. I want it to reflect Huntsville, not just my Huntsville. You know what I mean? What have you seen that reflects the other side? Like, how are you trying to incorporate that? And what do you see as your role in building community for maybe the other side of the Parkway?
I think for me, it's balance, and it's to show proof that it exists. So balance in the sense that, okay, there's events that happen in South Parkway or West Huntsville or South Huntsville, but then there's also events that happen in North Huntsville. There's also events that there's a community, and there's a sense of community everywhere. So my approach, or my purpose, is I want to show that everyone can get along, or everyone with a like mind can get along.
Yeah.
We're all the same. We all want the same things. We want our kids to go to great schools.
Yeah.
We want to have a fulfilling life and everything like that. But my thing is to bring balance and to show just a different side of it, because you may see the way I talk or the people I hang with, and you may have an idea in your mind of what that is or what we represent or what we think of or how we live our lives.
Yeah.
And you meet people and they're completely different than what you have in mind.
Right.
So it's that knock on your neighbor's door, get to know them before you start to judge them.
Yeah.
And for me, it's about having that balance and to show that, okay, how many times have you seen, I'll give you a good example to answer your question in a short way.
Yeah.
Everyone has this idea of hip hop or rap or the culture that it is. And until you really get to know what it is, some people judge it.
Sure.
And it's violent, it's misogynistic, it's so on and so forth. Until they have the open mind to meet someone of that culture, or to go to a show, or to get down and have a conversation, and they come to that middle ground where they're saying, you know what, we're just the same. Like we have a lot of common interests.
Yeah.
And so with anything, my whole thing is just creating that balance, bringing that balance, and just having a good time. Getting out, meeting like-minded people like yourself,
right.
The people that we were having a conversation with at downtown Huntsville, and going from there. We don't have time for the nonsense.
Right.
You know, like the more we focus on us getting along, having a good time, coming up with solutions, and maybe we have opposing views, but let's come to that middle ground, you know, or agree to disagree, and then keep it moving.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you feel a responsibility? I mean, do you feel like you play a role in that?
I think I have a responsibility to be honest as I see it.
Yeah.
You know, to talk to my truth. And I may not see it the way someone else sees it, but whatever I feel, I have a responsibility to see that through.
Yeah.
So if I think there's something wrong with it, I have a responsibility to speak up. If I see that there needs to be a change or I can make a change, that's my responsibility in that sense.
And we referred to this thing that we did with Downtown Huntsville. So just to give you some context there. So Chad Emerson runs Downtown Huntsville Inc. His job is to create opportunities for business and and cultural interactions downtown. Yeah. And he's really good at doing that, and has turned with local business help and Chad's help and the spearheading of a lot of cool projects and things, commercial space making it available, and a lot of different things that go on downtown. Downtown Huntsville has is growing in the kind of center of gravity in the city, becoming what a downtown really should be, which is a crossroads for all these communities. Yeah. And I'm excited about what the music opportunities are. But we did a video where you and I were there, and Spice Radio was there, and Tom from No Huntsville was there, and we talked about
and people of Huntsville.
And people of Huntsville, people of Huntsville were there. Yes, thank you. And we talked about what we do, our podcasts and our communities, and how we represent our communities. Yeah. And I left there, kind of feeling like not me personally, but us as a group, like we are representatives of our communities. Now there are other people that represent our communities too, but we have voices. Yeah. And okay, mine is small and it's growing, and I hope it gets bigger, but we kind of have a responsibility to represent those folks and say, here's the reality, and here's how we can come together. And I'm not saying we shouldn't lock arms and all sing together, but I think we do have a responsibility to just call it as we see it. Yeah. And you do that.
Absolutely.
You feel like you do that. Absolutely. Do you feel like we're getting better at it? As a city, do you think we're getting better at it?
I feel like it's getting a lot better than people may know. And if they don't see that change, if they don't see a changing of the tides, maybe they should, venture out a little more. Yeah. Or go in a few different, go where you're unfamiliar. Yeah. A lot of times if you're not seeing change, if you're not seeing things any different, maybe change where you are. If you don't see change where you go, change where you are. Yeah. And see if you see it there, because I do see, at least for me, from my vantage point, from my perspective, in the places that I go, and the reason I continue to do this is because I see change, because I see people that are making a difference and doing something about it. Yeah. And so for me, I see a lot of change. Yeah. I see a lot.
Well, and I feel like I'm insulated. I mean, I feel like even though I'm trying to get out and meet more people like yourself and doing more like the Spice Radio thing, which was at Salty Nut Brewery just a few weeks ago, where there was that was a really wide spectrum of folks
For sure.
at that thing, and it was beautiful to see. That was really cool. And maybe because I walked into that and was stunned just at the array of personalities. The music was amazing.
Yeah.
The venue was cool. It was a little rainy outside, but that almost made it better because everybody had to get inside and kind of be next to each other.
Everybody together, yeah.
And that stuff may happen all the time.
Yeah.
And I just don't see it.
Yeah. It's happening a lot more, and not to cut you off.
No, that's okay.
I also recognize the fact that while things are changing, there's a lot that is staying the same.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that, again, I believe in a yin and a yang, and I believe that something, if every day was a sunny day, then what's a sunny day?
Sure.
All right, so it's got to be, there's going to be those things that don't change.
Yeah.
And they're going to be the way that they are.
Yeah.
So those can stay there. I'm moving toward, the people that are making a change, making a difference, and trying to be the best of service that I can be. Because while, again, if there's things that you can't change or things that you don't see any momentum or any difference, all right, they're going to stay over there. They're supposed to stay over there. Because you're not going to, if they didn't exist, how would you recognize change?
Sure.
You know what I mean? If they were all the same.
Have you finished a show where you thought, man, more people need to hear this. More people need to be exposed to this. This should have a greater audience.
For sure.
And give me, what's that? What do you do in those situations? I mean, you're trying to build your own audience, but it's almost like you're holding on to something that really needs to be widely disseminated. Yeah. And the best you can do is just build your own brand.
For me, most of the time, what I've learned to do is let it breathe.
Yeah.
Is to just let it. You cook it. You serve it, and you let it go where it's supposed to go.
Yeah.
And I found out with me stepping back and letting it live, it's gonna meet whoever it's supposed to meet. Because I've had people come back 3 years after I've done a podcast and say, "Man, I was listening to a show you did about autism."
And you're like,
I'm like,
you forgot
that was
about
3 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they tell me this great story or how it impacted them, and when I'm waving the white flag and when I'm taking my podcast, man, listen to this one, listen to this one, listen to it. It doesn't have the same thing. So I think that energy, that vibe, when I feel those special ones, I just sort of try to stay on balance with it and just kind of let it do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. Man, that's really cool. That's really good advice.
Yeah.
That's really good advice for people who produce anything.
Yeah.
Is let it be what it's going to be.
Yeah.
So let me ask you about the music scene in Huntsville. Where do you think we are, and do you think that we're moving in the right direction? I mean, just the picture that you see a lot more of it, and you've seen a lot more of it than I have in my limited exposure here lately. Tell me where you think we are and where we're headed.
I think we are at one of the most exciting, most opportunistic places, that we can be. I think I think about it like this. I think Huntsville and North Alabama, music-wise, is right at that point when the internet first came up.
Yeah.
Where people didn't know quite what it was and it was weird and whatever. But then there were people that recognized it and just totally jumped all the way in and started taking advantage of all those opportunities.
Yeah.
So what's happening now is there's so many opportunities for people to do what it is that how many festivals have popped up in the last 3 years that weren't here before. Huntsville's always been here, but it took someone to take a chance and take a risk.
Right.
And now people are taking more risks and believing and following their dreams more. You starting a podcast, people opening venues, people, Midland Conservatory, people that are going after their dreams more than ever before.
Yeah.
So I think now is the most exciting time to make it happen. There is no excuse for whatever you want to do music-wise here in anywhere for that matter.
Right.
But especially here,
I
don't want to hear it. There's no excuse.
Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Birmingham.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long were you there before you came up here?
I've moved at least once every year.
Okay.
Around.
Tell me where you've been.
Yep. So I went to from Birmingham we moved to Minnesota. From Minnesota we moved to Cleveland. From Cleveland we moved back to Alabama. Then from Alabama we went to Mississippi.
How did all this happen? Was it military?
Just my mom's job, family, missionary work, just moving around, and again finding our way. My mom was a single parent, and so we just kept finding our way to and from Huntsville.
Right.
And then before, we always kept coming back to Huntsville because my family, my grandmother and grandfather, they were teachers and educators. They taught at Oakwood College. Well, it was Oakwood College then, it's now Oakwood University. And we always found our way back to Huntsville. And so I always make the joke that I went to a different school every semester. So when it comes to, growing up with people, and I say, man, I probably went to every school in Huntsville at some point in time.
What does that do for your perspective? Do you think that empowered you and kind of built what you have right now?
For sure.
You have a many-sided views of lots of different things, but you know what Huntsville can be because you've been other places. Tell me how that influenced you.
I think there's something about people that travel. People that go outside of their area, whether that be in the States or overseas or whatever. And especially if you do it at a young age, please, if you can, take your children out of the country, travel while they're little, all that good stuff. My mom, she was on a flight yesterday, and she was with a 8-year-old that they were sending over to for summertime. And it's like, most people would think, oh, you're going to put an 8-year-old on a plane and they're going here and they're going there. Sure, it's scary. I've got 5 kids, I know. But when you travel, it just does something to your perspective. When you see, for the most part, I think it also humbles you. Because for me, when people complain about their problems or they don't have this or they're going through this, and I'm just kind of nonchalant, and I'm like, dude, it'll be all right. Like, trust me, it could be a lot worse. I've seen a lot worse. I've been through a lot worse. And you start to really see that things could be different. So for me, people that travel or have been in different neighborhoods or different communities, you start to, or speaking to people from different languages and different cultures and different ways that they've come up, it just blows your mind, like how much people are the same when you get down to the gist of it. And I don't think I would have wanted it any other way. I'm glad to moved so many places, seen so many different people, and I still again want to continue to travel, learn different things, and to break those barriers, so to speak. So.
Yeah, and how long have you been here? Like
in Huntsville, so we about my middle school, junior high. I went to Stone Middle School, which is now Campus 805. The principal's office is Lone Goose Saloon. That used to be the principal's office. So still Stone Gators. And about junior high, that's when we finally settled and we sort of stayed here. And then from Stone Middle School, I went to Oakwood for a year and a half, and then I finally landed at Johnson and then graduated from Johnson.
Okay, what year was that?
2002.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. Well, so you've seen, from 2002, you've seen where we've come from. I mean, you know what we have been, kind of where we are. You can kind of see what's coming down the road a little bit.
Yeah.
With how quickly things are changing for the better here in town. I agree with you. I think we're in kind of a renaissance period in the life of this city. I think we've been one thing for a long time. And that is known for not a whole lot going on. And enough people have heard that and have gotten tired of it that we're now doing something about it. All right, man, I could talk to you for a very long time, and we have a lot more things to cover.
Absolutely.
Because my natural instinct is I want to deviate and I want to get into your show. Suddenly I want to be on your show.
We got to make it happen. We will make it happen,
and then part of this is selfish. Now I've just thrown that over at you, and now you gotta come back. But I really appreciate you doing this and taking the time, and I want to talk more about this place. There's just so much for us to talk about. It's like two people that like to talk to get together. I don't have enough, gigabytes on my camera here, so I want to get together and do this again.
Two quick things I want to leave with.
Hit me.
Think about this as well. Now, Huntsville, I don't know if people know or if you may know, there's been at least 3 movie premieres of Huntsville filmmakers. the Isabel brothers.
Yeah.
They did a film a year and a half ago called The Last Disciples.
Yeah.
They did a film called The Buffalo Soldiers, and then they did their latest film, Candy.
Yeah.
Huntsville, North Alabama actors from Atlanta, so on and so forth, right here, and then premiered it at Hollywood 18. And you've got students from the Midland Conservatory scoring the film, and then hearing their music, watching it on screen in a theater. That's here in North Alabama. They didn't wait for, we got to go to Atlanta and make this happen. They made it happen here.
Yeah.
The film festivals that are happening here. People are making short films and all these great documentaries right here in Huntsville.
Yeah.
So much is happening.
Yeah.
And I know there's so many different things that there's a couple opportunities across Huntsville. Everyone's got their pockets.
Yeah.
But rather than focus on that, rather than spend your dollars where they may not be appreciated, take your dollars and take your time to where people do appreciate it. Don't spend where you tolerate it. Don't go where you tolerate it. Go where people appreciate you. Just put that energy and that money and whatever that is into that, because there's so many people that welcome you or that are wanting to make things happen, wanting to make things change, and wanting to make things better. So I say just put that in there, and there's just so much happening. Huntsville is great, for real.
Can I be, when you run for mayor, can I be your campaign
manager? No.
We got some time.
I want to work, with the people that are making policies and making things happen and be of service. That's the only way I know how to live.
I mean, you're just pure inspiration, man. I mean, you really are. You have just such a great way with words. You have such a passion about you. I mean, it's infectious. Yeah. And I really appreciate it. I mean, I want to talk to you for a long time, and I just want to hang out more.
Yeah, we got to.
I mean, I feel like two people as cool as me and you. Yeah. We need to. Maybe we don't. Maybe it's best if we just kind of do our own thing. I don't want to disrupt the space-time continuum or anything. But hey, I really appreciate it. But you're so nice to do this, and Maitland is so good to give us some space and have us in here at their place. Is really very cool. It's really very cool. So, man, anytime you want to hang out, we can hang out. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, TMill, up top.